Hi there, I'm Rachel Gable, and this is your Fair Cattle Markets update for the 8th of June. So I wanted to bring your attention to an article that Carrie Stateheim wrote in the Tri-State Livestock News, which of course, if you're a Fence Post person, that is our sister publication. Carrie is the editor of Tri-State Livestock News, and her headline is Food Security, Concentration in Processing Sector Can Increase Vulnerability. Certainly something we're well aware of, but it was nice to have all of these facts in one place so that if you're making this, making some points to folks, Carrie has them gathered up for you. So she spoke to North Dakota State University professor Dr. Shetty, and this is what Shetty said. If Americans learned one thing from the COVID pandemic, it should have been that we need a more secure food system. I think I see a lot of posts about we don't have a meat shortage, you need to buy local. And well, this is true, you can. There for a while in the midst of COVID, it was a trucking situation and a stocking situation and a processing situation. And now that things have leveled out a little bit, there's certainly a million reasons to buy from your local rancher. But some of the beef that we raise goes to the grocery store too. Shetty, who is from India, said a number of things about balancing and diversity, and if the farmer is growing things and the processor has full control, then there's no other solution than to decentralize, which was interesting. It was interesting what Dr. Shetty said. Corey Hart, who is a cattle feeder, farmer, and rancher from North Dakota, said that he typically sells about 30 head of cattle a year as beef, just to keep kind of his repeat customers, their freezers stocked. In the 12 months with the increased demand since COVID, he has sold at least 100 head of cattle as processed beef statewide, which is really pretty amazing. And I think a lot of us have seen that. We certainly have. But boy, the processing has been the deal. And I'm interested here in the comments if you'll tell me if your local processors are starting to open up a little bit. We've been able to snag a couple of appointments of people that canceled or didn't show or whatever. And so we've seen that a little bit here, but we're still, they're still booked way far out. And of course, processing locally and processing with the big boys are two certainly different conversations. Shetty went on to say, bouncing back to him, I think what the pandemic taught us is that we should manage our own supply and decentralize. And if the nation's food supply has been compromised, it shouldn't be a matter of Republican or Democrat. He said, there are basic things that transcend politics. My philosophy is that every human has a right to dignity, the right to self-respect. Every community has this right and every country has this right. Strategic economy and resilience go hand in hand. And an industry is not resilient without a fair and ethical business practice in which every member in the production chain has the chance to make a profit. He said it also needs to be ethical, and this was my favorite quote of the whole article. Every spoke in the wheel has to be working well. You can't have ranchers fail. You can only allow greed that squeezes one entity for so long. At some point, who is going to produce all the food needed? The law of nature is working against concentration. We don't want this food system to collapse. If the rancher collapses, many things collapse. I agree with that. We all know how important ranching is. If you are in northeastern Colorado, I would encourage you to check out the Yuma Pioneer. They posted on social media. They're asking folks to contact Governor Polis to veto a bill from our friend, again, Senator Jesse Daniels from Wheat Ridge, Democrat. This one would outlaw using like Indian or Savage or any Native American sort of phrases as high school mascots. Of course, the Yuma Indians and the Lamar Savages, both in eastern Colorado, and both have really taken a lot of heat in Denver over this, because I don't know why they did and some others didn't. But anyway, the Yuma Pioneer is asking for folks to call in, write in about vetoing the bill. And the Post explained a lot about the history of Yuma and the history of why they're the Indians. So it's pretty neat. So if you're in that area, you might look it up, and if you are so inclined, give Governor Polis a call or an email. I appreciate all of you who have reached out with kind comments. I've gained some fans lately who do not care for me, which is fine. But I certainly appreciate those of you who have reached out with positive comments and said that you watch. I appreciate it. I know that there's a lot of ways to spend your morning, and I appreciate you spending it this way. I've kept you longer than I intended to, so I'm Rachel Gable, and this is your Fair Cattle Markets update for June 8th. Have a good one.